Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue, spinning on those ones and twos, man. Hey, Jonny Sue, you want to talk about spinning on those ones and twos? We need you to get on those turntables and whip us up a good documentary after what we saw last night.
Yeah, let's, we didn't even, I forgot. I wanted to kind of
I think Nico has it in his folder. If we have time for the show that we're supposed to do later on with Nico House on his ROKFIN exclusive. So we figured we'd jump in and do a little something beforehand. But do you want to give an overall grade to that movie?
I mean, I give it a 5 out of 10. I mean, look, I'm glad that Matt Orfalea was in it. Like, he was able to have some influence. But Vice, I've always seen as a neoliberal. And actually, I was just watching a podcast with Moderate Rebels with Ben Norton and Max Blumenthal, and they were talking about Vice and how they're pretty much neoliberal and blah blah blah. And so I was kind of like, eh. And so it was better than that, but it was still very much focused only on it's called Bernie Blackout, right? You guys know that's what it's called. Bernie was blacked out a lot in 2016. I mean, they really for sure blocked him out then. This time around, he was blacked out, but it was to a lesser degree. It was more of like they were giving negative information about him. While Donald Trump, according to Pasta and according to a lot of people, was blacked out in some ways, a lot of the coverage he got from the mainstream media was really negative, and he was able to turn that around and be like, oh, see, this is fake news. Bernie Sanders didn't do that. He didn't punch hard. Yeah. So there is like an element of, okay, like he could have turned that around. Now, I do think the mainstream media is a really big it's a determining factor of how other candidates are perceived. We talked about it on our ROKFIN exclusive yesterday, how the media is the arm of the establishment. They're literally propagandists for the military industrial complex and the intelligence community. So that there's absolutely no doubt about that. But what this documentary really missed is the internal corruption from within the campaign. They propped up Chuck Rocha like no other. Like, he was there like the whole time. Damn,
they got the Latino vote because of Chuck.
Yeah, I'm sure. It makes me want to smack somebody when people say that. And then they also completely skipped over any sort of election issue. I mean, there wasn't even a mention of suppression. There wasn't a mention of anything. Even talked about California. They literally skipped over California when they talked about this. And it's really a wonder to me how you can do that and not talk about the media, because the two go hand in hand. Like, the media perpetuates this idea that Joe Biden is winning. He's the most electable. Well, in order to counteract that, you need to look at the raw data and then look at how many people went out to vote and look at all the lines and talk about the machines and talk about how everything was set up to fail. That's the part that's missing. And that's what's inspired us to be like, we have to do something that's more accurate, more raw, and better.
Well, I'm going to do a video, and I'm going to yell at Bernie Sanders because, once again, this was not a blackout. I'm going to say this again. This was an attack this time. 2016, they did. Bernie was giving a great speech. They were showing Donald Trump's empty podium. And let me say this much. Yeah. In media today, any type of press, negative or positive, could be a golden opportunity. Every time they attack Trump, whether it be the candidates that he had to fight left and right, which I might add, Bernie Sanders didn't even have to do that. All he had to take care of was one candidate, Joe Biden, and the friggin' media. Tulsi Gabbard took care of the other candidates for him. She went after him and attacked Kamala Harris and Ryan and the whole 9 yards and Buttigieg. She freaking slayed the dragon. All Bernie had to do was use these golden opportunities that every single time the media attacked him, do what Trump did. Attack them back. Attack them back. I mean, we had guards at the gate like us, like Katie Halper, like the Max Blumenthals, like the Jimmy Dores. Anytime there was a stupid story out there, we had the ammunition to debunk it. Yep. And if we have the ammunition to debunk it, sitting down here in this friggin' studio, then goddamn it, Bernie Sanders' team should have been ready there, and they should have made him a lion. It's like Glory Jones said, savage. Right. To me, that's what this thing misses, that every single time that Bernie got attacked by that media, he should have went right at him. They compared him to fucking Nazis, for crying out loud, Chris Matthews. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that was the big problem.
He let his supporters do the work. I mean, and that's the thing. And I disagree. I mean, I think he had a lot of people he had to combat. I mean, he did have to combat still while we had a lot of candidates and they were all attacking him. But mostly, I think he should have focused on Warren and Biden, and he didn't focus on either of them. In fact, he was way too nice to both multiple times. And so I'm not asking Bernie Sanders to be somebody that he isn't, but that is essentially what did cause him to have these corrupt people in his campaign, to really not mention election integrity at all.
Yeah. So lack the political will, I think, was his
actually
issue.
mentioned that.
He lacked the political will. I hate when people, I don't want to say I hate it, but I just don't necessarily agree when they say, oh, he didn't have the moral fiber. I don't know about that, because that is part of who Bernie Sanders is.
No, he has
but you cannot lack the political will when you're running for president of the United States. If they attack you, it's like Donald Trump says, what's your name? Oh, fake news. What's your question? Fake news. I mean, the stories that MSNBC and CNN were doing were absurd, especially when it comes to Russiagate. And now we know, fam, it's all out there.
Sure, but the whole time he was being
bullshit.
But the whole narrative was Bernie Sanders. You cannot be Donald Trump. You cannot remotely, because they were also saying, "Oh, he's just like Trump, but on the left." So, and instead of taking that and turning it around and saying, "Well, I want to include everybody. I'm a populist." Blah blah blah. He said he backed off because he didn't want to be compared to Trump. And that's essentially what the campaign chose. They chose to really go against that narrative when they should have actually embraced that narrative.
He should have said, not only can I beat Trump, I'm the only one who can beat Trump. Write it down. So I don't care what the mainstream media tells you. They're full of it. What did they tell you before? They thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win and win by a landslide. She didn't. We've tried it before. You come this way. You don't say, I think Biden could beat Trump. That was the worst thing ever.
And unfortunately, the mainstream media does frame a lot of minds. People who don't watch independent media, a lot of older people, a lot of people in less populated areas of the country, they watch mainstream media. They take it for what it is. They don't know all these things about Joe Biden. I mean, I like even in Florida, people were really like not paying too much attention to the Tara Reade thing, and it's really scary when you realize how powerful that media is. So that's what we do. That's why we do what we do anyway. I mean, it is a part of it. It's not all of it. It's a very, very small part, especially when you're not looking at election integrity.
I think Bernie blew a golden opportunity this time. Every single time they attacked him, he should have went right back at that mainstream media. He was too ginger with them. He was too ginger with Biden. You know what I'm saying? That's not how you have to have a strong political will, and you have to take the White House, because they're not going to give it up easy. And Fan was talking about the whole time, is like, who's coalescing? The establishment. And they'll come together, and just like clockwork, fam, Obama was whipping the phone and they're coming together.
They didn't mention Obama.
Nothing about they showed Buttigieg,
very
they
surface
showed
level.
Klobuchar, Vice, please.
Very surface level interactions. But
the stars of it were Jimmy. Katie Halper had a really great part. So I'm going to say those two were good,
Yeah.
Even Lawrence Steiner had a good blue no matter who stopped.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that, but I'm going to say that
who's the dude with the earrings? The guy.
I don't know. They had people that were I've never heard in my life. In that documentary, I was like, this is interesting. And then they had like Jimmy and Katie. I was like, okay. But it was interesting. I mean, if you're a Bernie supporter, obviously watch it. You're probably going to be angry. That's been the reaction from most people. They've been just really angry after watching it. Some people can't watch it because it's going to make them angrier. Because they know that the media had a part, but it makes me even angrier because it's not the whole story. And it's painting the picture like, oh, everything was just set against us and we were helpless. That's not the whole story. Yeah. So that's what we want to.
Like I said, I got mad because it just reminds me that Bernie didn't punch back the way he should have. That's why I am upset. I'm not going to sit there and make excuses and say the media cost Bernie Sanders the election.
Yeah.
The media was a small part of it, of course, but going into that factor, fam, we knew that. Going into this political season, he had a bunch of independent media he could go to. Did he come on our show? Did he go on Nico House's show?
We didn't ask him.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, we couldn't even get to him. He didn't go on Jimmy. He went on Kyle once. I mean, he didn't touch on that independent media.
Yeah, he didn't.
He tried to get into that reading. He tried to reason with the Andrea Mitchells and all those peoples and the Joy Reids, and he went on those shows. He didn't tap into the independent media. You know what I'm saying? Where, certain people were going everywhere they can. Any independent media they're going on. And that's something he should have embraced. Because like I said, when people say to me, why aren't you running for something? I'm like, I don't have to run for something. I'm already elected to the fourth branch of government. I have an independent media show. And why did I want to start that? When Bernie Sanders was telling people that you need to run, you need to get out there and run, I thought he was signaling to us to say, hey, we have to be that fourth branch. We have to bring media into play that's going to be fair, balanced, and tell the true stories, because they're just against them. So rather kind of matriculating towards real independent media, which they didn't show on the movie yesterday because there was not a lot of independent interviews, he went and decided to say, well, I'm going to continue to dance with these people because I need to dance with these people. Well, I thought he should have attacked them and gone elsewhere.
That was his outlook throughout the whole campaign.
It was the mistake, I think.
So let's move on to our main our starting subject.
Really quick, I just want to tell people just before Fiorella gets started here, we will no longer repost the restream onto YouTube. It will be on our Patreon. So if you're a Patreon member, but if you also want to watch the whole stream in its entirety, you can go to ROKFIN and watch it there for free. We will, like always now, be putting up the clips from every show. So the whole show will be up just in clips, and they're easy for you to share, right, fam?
Yeah, and make sure to subscribe because we're being suppressed, like literally,
big time,
like big time.
Okay. We'll wait for the.
Let's wait for that
because it's kind of part of. Go ahead.
Okay, so Bernie Sanders failed to show up to a very important vote yesterday, and it was an amendment protecting surveillance, because what we've been talking about here is that there's been an expansion of the surveillance. They're using the excuse of coronavirus. They're using the excuse that we need to protect people's safety, et cetera, et cetera. And Bernie Sanders was not there, along with other people. He didn't show up to vote for this amendment that would have blocked the people from being really going hard on it. So 10 Democrats and Republicans voted against the Wyden-Daines amendment, and this amendment would have prohibited the FBI from warrantless surveillance regarding your web browser history. And basically they would have needed 60 votes. They got 59 to 37. Jesus. So one vote would have made the huge difference. And they're going to vote on what passed, which is the surveillance part that actually passed. The Senate still has to vote for it. But it was really interesting because I get that Bernie Sanders is older, that needs to be careful, and this is a coronavirus. But what was he doing instead? He was, what we're going to talk about later, he was doing a Biden-Sanders like task force thing. He was doing like a live stream, which to me is like nothing in comparison to what this means. This is like our civil liberties. This is like spying on people. It's not all on him, but he, as the guy that is like the progressive guy, like he's like the leader of the progressive movement, should have been there. And so a lot of people had a lot of reactions, and Jeremy Scahill pretty much summed it up really well.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, great job to the 10 Democrats who voted against the Wyden-Daines amendment that would have prohibited FBI warrantless surveillance of web browser history. Special shout out to Bernie Sanders, who did not show up to vote. It was defeated by one vote. And then he went on to say, remember this vote next time one of these 10 Democrats or Sanders tells you that Trump is the most dangerous president in history. Yep. They just facilitated outrageous surveillance powers to William Barr and the FBI, because that bill was a coalition of Republicans and Democrats coming together. Mitch McConnell, of course, is also behind that one. Yeah. And then the 10 Democrats who joined the GOP in defeating the amendment to stop FBI's warrantless surveillance of web browser history were Carper, Casey, Feinstein, Hassan, Jones, Kane, Manchin, Shaheen, Warner, and Whitehorse. And Mark they joined the 2 Republicans and a Democrat showing up to vote, Bernie Sanders.
Doug Jones.
Yeah.
Doug Jones. Remember that? Blue no matter who. Doug Jones has voted almost equivocally with freaking Donald Trump. He's been a leaning right, moderate Republican with a blue next to his name, with a blue check mark next to his name, a D next to his name. It's full of shit.
And it's he continues saying, it's fascinating to watch centrists seize on Sanders not voting on this amendment, which, as I said, is bad. To make sweeping declarations about how awful he is while saying nothing about the Democrats who always support these dangerous surveillance power. Again, Sanders' strongest point isn't on surveillance. I rarely ever see him talk about it. But this is something that we need to pay more attention to. And again, when he constantly talks about how Republicans and Trump are so dangerous, yet he misses this vote, and then he completely doesn't even talk about it. There was no tweet, nothing regarding this. So obviously it's not on his radar. A lot of people were like, well, he's old, he's sick. It's like, yeah, okay, but he did show up to the impeachment vote. He has shown up to votes that have mattered less, and I just feel like this was where are you? Like, this is a time when we needed you. And it's like I said, it's a Congress full of different people, but if you're the person that's talking about, yeah, we need to change the system, we need to do this, you show up to this vote. And so he was rightfully criticized by a lot of people, and people are just really feeling really let down right now.
I saw Killer Cam put hashtag, where was Bernie? Where are you, Bernie? Or whatever he put over there and stuff like that.
I mean,
it's the truth. You cannot miss these type of votes.
Yeah.
And it's so funny what you talk about. It is not a strong point at all. And this is why there's a big, where was Bernie? That's my boy Killer Cam. We talk about, what the importances are of that progressive movement and whatnot, and why there's a lot of us who kind of splintered off of sorts, who consider ourselves to still be progressives, but we have these libertarian-minded views when it comes to surveillance and whatnot. And it's not just giving the power over to William Barr. I don't want anybody to have that power, fam. I mean, this is America. What happened to our the right to privacy and whatnot? You know what I'm saying? And it's one thing if they were using these powers, which the Patriot Act, they told us we got to look at China, we got to look at Russia, we got to make sure all these countries in the Middle East that if they're planning another terrorist attack, we got to be ahead of the curve. So we need these powers. They were given the powers. Did they look at China? Did they look at Russia? No, they looked at American citizens almost 3 to 4 times more. Okay, they're looking to keep their control intact. How do you do that? You make sure your citizens, the plebs, don't get out of hand. So if anybody's speaking truth, you suppress them, you silence them, you do what you got to do get them in trouble. Whatever the case may be, they're getting raw data that they're not entitled to our privacy, to our lives. And right now, Bernie Sanders could have went over there, signed on the dotted line, or just voted and gave one of these. Where's it at? The yeses or the no to the, yes to the amendment, no to the thing, and stopped it. So it's
one of many things that they're pushing. If you notice, they push the 6666. They pushed the other one we talked about the other day.
The lobbyists getting money too as well.
Exactly. They're doing all of this in really rapid frequency.
Yeah.
And it just shows that people are so concerned with the coronavirus, with their jobs and stuff, they're not even paying attention. And this is a moment where you have to pay the most attention, because this is the moments where they shove everything right in. And we need our progressives in there. But what I'm asking is where the hell is the progressive movement? I posted a tweet at Bernie. I don't have it with me right now, but I tweeted at him and I said, Bernie, where were you? Where is the progressive movement right now, right? And it got a decent amount of responses, because everybody is, I say we need to stop looking for leaders, but Bernie is a designated leader, and people look to him to bring clarity, especially in a time of crisis. And obviously he can't be everywhere, but this is a place where it should have been prioritized instead of being here.
Yeah.
Where Biden and Sanders have decided to form a unity task force.
Yes,
fam.
I have a question, fam. These are my 3 top subjects. Please tell me if I got a task force. Election integrity, civil liberties, and foreign policy. Do I have a task force?
No.
Wait. I heard it was 6 task force. I got something. I have?
There's nothing to do with that.
Wait. Is there
nothing to do with that?
No, with task force?
No, nothing to do with that, because it's Joe Biden's team, and only Democrats are only going to First of all, the people that would have provided any kind of opposition to the Joe Biden team, the Nina Turners of the world, the people that the Briannas, the David Serratas, those people, they're not at all included in this, number one. Besides Nina Turner, everybody else is a lot more polite than us. If I would have been there, I'd be like, fuck off, we're getting Medicare for all, or you get nothing from me, right? That's how it would have to be. All those people, including the delegates who are like that, have been completely pushed out. So what you have here is not a unity task force. You have a freaking submission task force. Oh, we're going to get these people to pretty much agree with everything that Joe Biden and the campaign of Joe Biden want, and we're going to pick people that have already capitulated to the establishment. So let's look at the board with no activists in a very pro Biden.
There is an activist right there on the climate change one. There's Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
She's not an activist.
Oh,
she's
sorry.
An elected congresswoman.
My bad.
And she has been capitulating to the establishment nonstop this whole time. And Pasta and I were literally I don't know if you guys have been watching us for a long time, but you can just go back to the videos where we were her number one fans. I mean, we freaking loved her. Pasta went to see her in New York. This isn't just I want to turn because I'm a hater and I just hate everybody. And no, This is she has been
Yeah.
terrible on foreign policy. She has been terrible when it comes to civil liberties. She has constantly refused to call out Nancy Pelosi. Now, people want to be
capitulated to her every step of the way.
every step of the way. People want to be pragmatic and say, well, she needs to protect her position, but that's everybody. That's everybody that gets in there. So you got to find a way to use the people, and she has the people.
Yeah.
She's had the people for a while, and she's been capitulating.
It's a false statement. We sent these people there to stir up shit, to go against the establishment, not to capitulate to them. It was just, once again, like the Tea Party and the Freedom Caucus back when they did what they had to do. I keep mentioning it because I was so set on seeing Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, join powers with maybe Bernie Sanders. I would have hoped that on foreign policy, civil liberties, they would have kind of gone with a Tulsi, because at that time there was no beef until she was running, you know what I'm saying? That's when all the beef started with her. But, I thought all these people would get together as strong progressives and stir up shit and say, no, we're going to get people to come on our side, because they had the independent media. They had the crowds. They would have people showing up. They could have put their flag in the ground and say, no more. So it just makes me think, did they get to these people? Or, when it comes to AOC, and like we said, our biggest fans was the Venezuela thing. The saying that it was okay for Nancy Pelosi to be the chair. She should have voted against that and say, no way. Even if she was the only person.
Her entire relationship with Nancy Pelosi.
It's been terrible,
It's been amicable between them. That's what's terrible about it. There's nothing good about Nancy Pelosi. There is really, you should not be her friend right now. You should be there opposing everything she does, and she's just falling in line. Criminal justice reform. Gee, we have Simone Sanders there. Simone Sanders, part of the Biden campaign, who was literally the entire time gaslighting every single person that brought up criticisms regarding Joe Biden. Not to mention the fact that Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. So what kind of criminal justice reform you're going to get with Mr. Crime Bill? I really have zero faith. Eric Holder.
Yeah. Obama's freaking, give me Obama's attorney general, another freaking crooked guy. Old people, just throw them in there.
The one good one here I see on economy is Stephanie Kelton. But how much is she really going to be able to do based on her belief system, where it's pretty much antithesis to capitalism as a state? I mean, this is
So they ignored our issues, right? Okay, so there's no election integrity task force, which will say, how do we make our elections better, right?
Yeah,
so let's ignore that.
That's not a problem.
There's no civil liberties, like what's going on with the Patriot Act? How do we reform? How do we make a plan to get these bills torn up and get them out? And let the American people have their civil liberties back. Foreign policy, there's no task force over there, so we're not even paying attention to it. So
there's no and let me just point out real quick on healthcare.
Yeah,
there is no the hardcore activists
Jayapal
there. I would say Jayapal, but she literally endorsed Joe Biden right away. So I mean, where does that leave Medicare for all if you're endorsing a guy that said he would veto Medicare for all? I'm talking about hardcore on the ground nurses from hardcore, like Roseanne DeMauro. I don't see her name on there. She is hardcore. I would feel like somebody that's going to fight for actually Medicare for all, Roseanne DeMauro. You need activists on the ground. You don't just need politicians that are doing the you need the activists, and I don't really see the activists. The majority of these people are electeds, or they have some sort of political capital. They aren't activists. And so that's, again, beside all that, beside the people that they picked, and beside all that, what the hell kind of anything are you going to get when you gave up all of your freaking leverage, when you're not even going to the convention with delegates that are going to fight for you, when you're not even, you endorsed Joe Biden, you gave every single thing you had, you didn't ask for anything in return, you're telling people to endorse Joe Biden without getting anything in return. Is this task force supposed to help us get anything in return? No. I don't think so. No. I don't think so. I think it's all a shit show.
Yeah, it's like, this is a bunch of people who have no power, who are going to sit together. I mean, it's not like they're going to say, okay, let's get these task force and present it to the people who are in power. And let's put this in front of Trump's face and demand that he do this. Nothing like that. They're just going to sit there and say, this is what should be done. Hey, you guys don't have power. Donald Trump's the president right now. Get that through your head. Yeah. You could sit there in a room and talk about it's like we're sitting at the Bernie Diner coming up with ideas. Well, how do we get those ideas into play? The people who are calling the shots, you got to get in front of their face. And if they're on the opposite side of the fence, then you tell them that, hey, we're bringing this on behalf of the people. And we're going to let the people know that we put this in front of you and you said no. They never do that. They never do that.
It's not happening.
Can I get the super chat contribution from Darren Levy? Thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Bernie, like Corbyn in the UK, allowed the neoliberals to cheat him, and that allowed Trump's and the Boris Johnsons to come into power. They should both be learning lessons for the world left.
It is actually
Not the word left,
very
the world
similar.
left.
Very, very similar.
Yeah. I mean, no, Corbyn and Sanders, it's almost identical in a way. You know what I'm saying? The passiveness, just sitting back. No, you got to take power from these people.
Corbyn's was worse because they were like literally laughing in his face. Like it wasn't even hidden.
He was pretty bad. Need a fam t-shirt, fam. Chef Momo. Thank you for the super chat contribution. Chef Momo. Hey, hit us up on our Convo Couch Gmail. We'll chit chat back with you, let you know what's what. Robert Gilbert says, love you both. Love pasta more. Didn't say love pasta more, just said I love you both. Keith M, thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Private meetings with HRC and Obama in 2016. I think Bernie was co-opted by the establishment back then. His 2020 campaign was self-sabotage. Now, I would not disagree to that whatsoever. It just seems that after the convention, somebody got to him. Because we look at all this stuff, we look at all the evidence before, everything that's happened. Bernie was like the only one. I
don't think he was like bought and like what has he, I mean, if you say that, then where is the money that he's getting? There, you know what I mean? Like where he's not bought. He's a guy that has integrity and he's naive. He literally is a naive freaking person. He keeps the wrong people around him. The reason I believe that is because I know a lot of people in this movement that can't tell who's real and who isn't. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that happen over and over again. There's a naivety of trusting because progressives as a whole, like in general, they want to they want to trust everybody. They want everything to be great and ponies and rainbows, and that's not how life is. And you can't. And somebody like Bernie has been really careful. And we were watching, Bobby Kennedy. And the one thing Bernie has not done that all these people that are dead have is he hasn't really hardcore attacked the military-industrial complex. Maybe that's why he's alive. Because if you notice who's dead, it's the people that started attacking the intelligence community and the military-industrial complex. Once you start going that route, then there is like a target on your back. Yeah. And that's not conspiracy. I mean, you can look back to see literally all the activists, politicians who did that ended up dead. So I think there's something to that. So there is talk that Bernie Sanders there's pressure that he needs to share his donor list with Joe Biden. But the reality is we deserve better. His supporters deserve better. If he did that, it would be absolutely catastrophic as far as our relationship with Bernie, because that is the one thing he hasn't done. So according to The Hill, the presidential campaigns of former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Sanders appear to be working seamlessly together. But some Democrats are questioning why Sanders has not offered his vaunted fundraising list to help Biden's overcome the massive cash deficit he faces against President Trump. Sanders has built an unmatched network of grassroots liberal donors who helped him crush the competition and fundraising during the 2020 primary season. Biden, meanwhile, has run on a shoestring campaign and faces a daunting challenge against Trump, who has raised more than $700 million this cycle and has about $250 million in the bank. Sanders' list of supporters is viewed as one of the most valuable commodities in politics. Since suspending his campaign for president, Sanders has used it to raise money to reelect progressive members of Congress, not all of them progressive, to support state-level progressives and to raise money for the coronavirus relief efforts. But again, he hasn't done that. He hasn't at all given Biden the list.
That was the argument back in 2016 too, as well. And then all of a sudden, Robbie Mook got a hold of some list.
Oh God,
remember
Robbie
that
Mook.
stuff. So. What's the next topic? Did we get all the super chats real quick?
I think so.
We got them all? Okay, so,
fam, you were really wanting to talk about this because this is, it's pretty disgusting.
It's very, very disgusting. When I said we got to eat the rich, and I can cook them, I can braise them, I can grill them, I can sous vide Bezos is what we think we need to do, because Jeff Bezos, he was already set to be the world's first trillionaire, and he, I think a couple years ago, yeah, but a couple years ago it was in 40 years, right, Johnny? And now they got it. See, there it is. Jeff Bezos could be the world's first trillionaire by 2042. And that was back in 2017. But since the pandemic has hit, fam, They moved that out because this guy, since this pandemic, has made a ton of money. Now they say by 2026, he'll be a trillionaire and stuff. And the thing that's really disgusting about this whole thing is that really just the other day, they also broke something about what Bezos, it was in Zero Hedge, and what's going on. It's so disgusting, fam. We got to read this right here. Check this out. Amazon restoring normal delivery times for product. Will cut overtime pay for workers. And I'm not going to go too much in this because we're a little bit pressed for time, but the Amazon warehouse workers were only getting $2 extra more per hour. There was a bunch of people hired because of the pandemic. Now they're going to go back to normal hours, take away the $2 pay, which the $2 extra pay per hour is a fucking joke. It's a joke. You're going to clear $14 a day extra for working in a pandemic with the coronavirus? You should be hung, you son of a bitch, Bezos, you piece of shit. And now he's going to let go of all those people, take away their money right in the middle of this thing going on. Right in the middle of this thing going on. We just got an extra freaking 3 months in LA for the extension, and now you want to sit there and go back to your regular hours where there's so much more work and still the conditions you can get sick? It is disgusting what people like Jeff Bezos get away with. This is the thing that just really,
he has enough money to end homelessness.
He's got enough money to do everything. I mean,
no, he really does. Like, he literally could single-handedly wipe out homelessness in the United States. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%.
Or he doesn't have to do this. How about just run a company and give your people good pay? Give them good benefits, right? You're going to be a trillionaire. Is it so bad that you're going to be a billionaire that you could really help the economy out that way? I mean, he could end homelessness. He could do other stuff, but what if he just paid his employees fair?
I don't even enough to play, because think about how much money this man has. You could work every single day of your life, every single hour, and you would still never make enough money.
Of course,
that he has. You could work hundreds of years and you will still never have enough money that he like not even close to the amount of money he has. People like Jeff Bezos should not exist. I will take that further. People like Jeff Bezos should not exist. Billionaires, trillionaires, they should not exist. Millionaires, sure. If you make a certain amount of money in an ethical way, I think we need to get back to ethics. Capitalism has wiped out any sort of ethical concern. When you are so filthy rich that you're buying planes and boats that are massive cities, and you are unable to do more than give $2 more during a pandemic. I mean, basic companies do that. Yeah. It's a basic thing a regular company could do, let alone a billionaire. Again, we shouldn't have billionaires and trillionaires. I swear to God, like, that is to me something like that should never exist. It doesn't work. You build your empire on the backs by robbing and hurting the poorest and most vulnerable in our society. Yeah. There's no such thing as working hard and becoming a trillionaire. No. That just doesn't.
You don't do it without help, without corruption from the government, without a lot of strings pulled for you. And like I said, even the fact that he can't even pay his employees a decent fucking wage is just disgusting.
Yep. So. And he has made, there's 33 million Americans are unemployed. He has made 24 million in these last few months. And if there is 40% of households right now who are making under 40,000 have seen at least one person
households. Not individuals, households, ladies and gentlemen. Households, not one person, because 50% of the workforce makes $30 or left, but 40% of households earn less than $40,000 a year.
And they've lost a job, at least one job.
And with everything going on.
Right.
And then with the new bill, they're not really helping anybody out either, fam. They're helping out the corporations again.
That's my question, fam. What's it going to take for people to do something about it? Like, what's it going to take? How much longer will it be before people stand up and actually fight back? Because otherwise, the Jeff Bezos of the world are going to continue getting richer. They just are. There's nothing stopping them. Why do you think he made a lot of money? It's coronavirus. People can't really go out and shop as much. They can't get the things they would normally get at the store. So, of course, they're going to have to use Amazon. It is a need now. So what should they do? They should nationalize Amazon. He shouldn't even have that company. Honestly, that would be the icing on the cake. It shouldn't be owned by one person.
Trump pretends to hate Bezos. They pretend to hate each other. I wish he would do something, like they're, I don't know if it's all just an act. It's like professional wrestling with these guys.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, they're billionaires. So, they have more in common, like you say, than they do with us. And as if that wasn't bad enough, and I'm sorry for all the bad news, the results came in for Wisconsin, California special elections, and
Good news, fam, or bad news?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
I guess so.
Because they
see.
limited us, but
you can see right over there. Garcia
won.
I guess a Bernie Sanders endorsement in California doesn't do anything anymore.
And I forget what's his name, the Wisconsin guy. He also won in District 7 as well. And Bernie Sanders apparently lost to Joe Biden in the Nebraska primary, which I didn't even know was still happening. This is all a bunch of this is a joke. Like, this isn't even real anymore. Like, this primary has been such a disaster that I don't even think people care anymore. People are just like, yeah, whatever. Like, what's the point? You know, Bernie dropped out. He gave everything to Biden. They're focused on passing the most progressive platform in history.
It's the same shit again.
And I'm just like, this is fucking bullshit. Be angry. Like, let it out, because this is not okay. This is not okay. Like, and this is what I want to point out. Yes, Tom
Big
Tiffany.
on a wall
that's his name.
in Wisconsin.
Tom Tiffany is
Keep
the
those
guy that
Canadians
beat
out.
the Trisha Zunker, who was actually like, if I would have voted for her probably. But this is the thing here. The Democrats are losing. You already see how badly they're losing, and they still somehow think that giving us platitudes and some sort of bullshit like, oh yeah, progressive platform is going to get out the vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't even have volunteers. He's never made any calls. He was placed there. It was a rigged election. We all know it. That's why Joe Biden doesn't have money, because even with no money, with no volunteers, he managed to win. That's not logical. Like, you don't win like that. There's no way. He had no ground game. So Joe Biden's a fabrication. He's just been put there for right now.
Look at those votes.
But look at
4,318 for the Congresswoman Gabbard.
Just look at those votes from Joe Biden. I mean, just look at the amount of votes. And I can't even tell what's legit or not, because I honestly don't know, because people might have just been like, yeah, I'm done.
That's a lot of votes for the Congresswoman. Maybe they stopped cheating there at one point, something for the last votes.
I mean, yeah, Bernie only got 5 more times the amount of votes she got. That's really hard to believe.
That is hard to believe for what she, I'm saying. Hey, but good for her. And Elizabeth Warren hitting that scoreboard, fam. There's got to be a lot of mail-in votes, maybe from a while ago, and then who knows? I don't even know the process. I stopped following because nobody's even calling out.
A lot of people aren't even voting.
How do we have a voting system that's owned by corporations, a public voting system paid for by the public, owned by private corporations? And now you hear this talking going out there that we have an open source system in California.
Yeah.
We do not. We even trapped. We asked the assistant to the registrar, hey, do we have an open source system? He's like, yes, cool, that's awesome. Jeff, give us the source code. We don't have it. Well, then you're not an open source fucking system. So anyways, I think that's it, right? Because we have to get on another show in a little bit.
Yep.
We're going to go on Nico House's ROKFIN, ROKFIN. Guys, if you're on our thread right now and you haven't signed up for our ROKFIN, do so. Some of you guys want shirts. The easiest way to pry a shirt out of me, my friends, is to sign up for our ROKFIN, because we need some help over there. Yes, we like to rock it on YouTube, but we need to use our other platform. We need you to go over there and help us out. So sign up for free. If you got that EDD check in, go endorse us for $9.99, but it would really help us out. Johnny, anything else before we get out of here and on to the next show?
Just real quick, because we're supposed to say that the U.S. passports are being delayed.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Because of COVID. If you're thinking about applying or renewing a U.S. passport now for international travel, please read the travel advisory. Because of public health measures to prevent COVID-19 spread, we have extremely limited U.S. passport operations. You apply or renew now, you experience significant delays of several months to receive your U.S. passport and return to your citizenship. And the return of your citizenship evidence documents. So one of our FAMs, Alison Irwin, sent this to us, and they said they still have some of her citizenship evidence documents, and she applied way before the date they have listed here, which is like March 9th. So just making some people aware of that.
I mean, I still think like you have to apply at some point. I mean, if you need to renew your passport, this is like the worst time to not have a passport, to be honest.
Hey, Kathleen Looney, ROKFIN never works for you, but it will start to work. They've been improving the site. That's another thing. If it didn't work in the past, guys, give them a chance. They're really rebuilding the system. The CEO of the company has some great roots, and he's building a great product, and he's going to keep improving on it. So don't give up on it. They've been really good with us. They got a really good platform. Everybody's there now, right? The American Vagabond, Kim Iverson, Graham Elwood, Ron Pacone, Nico House, Slow Day News, Action for Assange, Slow News Day. I get it all again. Tina, right? I mean, there's so many people. So go over and check it out. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on those 1s and 2s.
Combo out. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe.
And go over to ROKFIN and watch us on Nico's channel.